Ty?
All right. So, how many of you know someone with a disability? And how many of you know someone in the LGBT community? Most of us know someone who is a part of these communities, if not both. But according to the CDC, 61 million people, or 26% of adults in the US, reported living with some type of disability. That spans from mobility to cognition to hearing and vision and self-care. 3 to 5 million, or 27.7% of those individuals, identify as LGBTQ+. Yet only about 2.1% of media representation features the disabled queer community. This disparity cannot be ignored. For those portrayals on television that do showcase this community, these individuals are often asexualized or fetishized, depicted to be socially awkward, or made to be subjects of pity. Not only is this harmful because it's reinforcing false stereotypes of the disabled LGBT community, um, but it's also reinforcing these stereotypes to those who aren't aware of the community. But it's also harmful for individuals who fall under this community and area of intersectionality to see these portrayals and feel misunderstood and boxed in.
So what we want to do here is to bring the community's experience to the light, not only for them but for all the people that aren't aware of what it means to be part of a community like this one. We want this information to reach people that need it through creating social media accounts that will engage the students and make it possible to regularly interact with our customer base and to provide answers and information about the queer disabled community. You might be asking yourself, who is going to buy into this idea? We believe that because of idea, our idea provides a unique and new documentary concept and perspective, there will be high enough demand for our film that a studio will buy the rights to the film. The money we will earn from selling the rights will go towards the costs that we accumulate throughout filming, such as paying for rental of equipment and compensating the cast and crew of our film.
Yes. Our mission statement for this film is to uplift underrepresented voices of the LGBTQ plus and disabled community and educate audiences everywhere with emotional stories, comprehensible facts, and motivational calls to action. We believe that our customer segments for this film will be the disabled community, the LGBT plus community, and anyone who wants to learn more about those communities. We're living during a time period right now where representation, diversity, and inclusion is very important. Communities are having those conversations about getting more representation. The companies are, families are talking about it. So we really think that this film will be helpful in a lot of different segments, and it will pique a lot of people's interest in learning more about this community that is so vastly underrepresented in media. We also created a SWOT analysis. So the strengths that we see for our film idea is a personal connection to the community. Many of our team members are a part of or know people who are in the LGBT plus community and disabled. And that gives us an advantage of being able to tell an authentic story and get genuine facts for this film. We also have a lot of local support. Our friends and family are very supportive financially and emotionally for this kind of film. Cleveland is really big in the arts industry, and we feel that we'll have a lot of local support in order to fund this film. We also have the strength of youthfully innovative storytelling. So we're all college filmmakers, and we are coming from a perspective of Gen Z, which knows no limits as far as what kind of things are possible when it comes to media. We've grown up with the internet, we've grown up with YouTube and all these spaces that show us how we can get information out there, and we will definitely use that to our advantage. The only weaknesses we see is that it's going to be a little bit low budget. We're going to have to be resourceful with how we use our film resources, and we don't have as much experience as maybe, you know, a Warner Brothers studio or anything like that, but we have a lot of motivation, passion, and creativity. The opportunities that we see in this is that there's a high demand for inclusive storytelling right now. So we've seen shows such as Love on the Spectrum do really well on Netflix, and we've seen the show called Special do really well on Netflix. And there's a lot of streaming services that are interested in getting as much content as possible, and documentaries that address social justice issues are very popular and very successful. There's not a lot of competitors in this specific topic because there is not enough representation for the disabled and LGBT plus communities. So we have a spot here that's ready for us, and we are willing to make a film that will address these needs. We also have the advantage of an opportunity of press and media coverage. So we, once a film like this is created, we do really well, and a lot of people will learn about it and want to know what it's all about. And then the only threats is that there might be emerging competitors. So as we are aware that there's not a lot of representation in this industry, in this segment of the industry, other people could possibly be aware too, and we might have to deal with other people in a competitive way talking about these same things. And then we also have environmental challenges. So obviously we're in the middle of a pandemic, so there might be challenges regarding health concerns and making sure that our subjects being interviewed are taken care of properly, and that we're doing everything that we need to do to make sure that everything is healthy and safe. But these are all things that we're aware of, things that we are carefully analyzing and using to make sure that we make a film that's really the best we could possibly make it. So we have costs such as camera equipment, location costs, crafty, which is food, and then talent, stipend, and crew salary. So we're gonna be looking at a startup capital of 5,000. And that might seem like a big number, but I definitely think it's possible to reach. And this startup capital will help us make a film that I really think will be the best quality it possibly can be. Then we are going to get revenue from YouTube streams. We're going to post our documentary up on YouTube. We'll enter film festivals and try and receive prizes from that. And then we'll also try and get Amazon to distribute our film. And from those buys, we'll likely get some revenue as well. The channels that we'll use to fund this film, the big ones are Indiegogo and Kickstarter. These are where filmmakers go, independent filmmakers go to try and get their films funded. We will definitely be using our trailer to up the hype for our film, get people excited about wanting to learn more about the LGBT plus and disabled communities. And then we'll also market using Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. I have a marketing and social media background. That's what my associate degree is in. And I think that that will be an asset to us really selling this film. And finally, I just think this film is a great film, and it's much needed in our time. There's representation, there's models, and there's actors who are a part of both the LGBT and disabled communities, but there's still such a large disparity compared to how many people report being disabled and LGBT in our country versus how many people are represented on the screen. We have to make sure that our media and our televisions are reflecting our real lives. And with this lack of representation, there's a lot of area for miscommunication, stereotypes, and just misunderstanding of these communities. So it's really important that we get more information out there. And without further ado, we will play our trailer for this. Okay, there we go.
We are all born into this world, and immediately we are casted into these boxes: boy, girl, big, small. And there's so much variation in who we grow up to be, what we look like, where we're raised, how we love, how we dress, Yet when you grow up with media, watching these people and these characters presented on screen whom we're meant to relate to and be invested in, and who's supposed to represent the average person, they don't accurately reflect this vast level of diversity in our nation, which we call a melting pot. We need to start paying attention and do more for these communities. We need to start making noise and demanding representation from studios and the media. And who they are isn't all that different from you and me and all the other able-bodied neurotypicals in the world. We need to make a change. It starts right now.
There were just a lot of disabled individuals on TV when I was growing up, but they were always depicted as like evil characters. Like I always just think of, you know, like Phantom of the Opera and things like that, of where it's like a physical deformity, which can count as a disability, and yet he's portrayed as sort of this villain. Or just so many other like TV shows and movies that I'm kind of blanking on, but it felt like it was just so much bad representation growing up. I think, for one, it just made me not even realize what disability could look like as a whole. It made me think that disability only happened to like a certain type of person, or if you did a certain type of thing, or that something was wrong with you if you were disabled. And then sort of even seeing my grandma disabled as I was growing up, seeing these representations, trying to kind of figure out that balance in my mind of like, why is it portrayed this way, but this is the reality? And then when I was diagnosed and like kind of slowly got more physically disabled, as I would say, like not able to access as much and leave my house, I think it sort of brought me this weird comfort of like relating to that evil representation in a weird way of, yes, I missed good representation and I love that there is some of that now and hope that continues, but also I love being able to like reclaim and be like, okay, well, we're kind of badass people who are gonna do whatever as well. And so I think it could be cool either way.
There isn't a lot of good blind representation in media. It's just it's just not there. I mean,
Right.
there are actors who play blind characters, but there is no. I mean, I'd have to go with Charlie Cox on Daredevil.
Okay, yeah.
That's the closest I can really come. At least he pulls off the disability well. I'd prefer they would have gotten the blind actor, but what can you do?
So how did that lack of representation affect you growing up?
Well, there was nobody like me on TV.
Right.
Nobody I could look at and go, you know, they're like me. So it was odd, just because media, even back then, was just it's such a big piece of our lives, even going forward. It's difficult to connect with it when you don't have that hook.
I think it just makes me really sad when I see it today. That, once again, like so many people are seeing this as the only thing they're seeing for disability. That they're not seeing a full picture, they're not seeing different characteristics of people, they're not even learning about disability, they're just seeing like, evil person, this is what it is. And there's so few shows and shows and movies and other types of media that are really having disability representation played by disabled actors with that disability. It kind of inspires me to want to change it, to seek out different representation and like consume it all, and then also want to like write and contribute to that representation. So I think that that's just how it's affected